This drawing, I'm drawing again with one of those Koh-i-Noor pilot pencil holders, but I'm using instead one of those sanguine kind of compressed charcoal type nibs. So this is a little bit like the traditional red chalk that artists would have drawn with, artists like Watteau and Rubens. So this is somewhat like a pastel in the sense that it's pigment combined with gum arabic, which means that it can produce an incredibly delicate line. It can also make a really lovely broad drawing medium. So it's a really beautiful kind of combination almost of a halfway house between pencil and charcoal. As it has a gum arabic content, then it's water soluble, which means that by adding water to your drawing you can achieve washes. So in a sense at the moment I'm kind of more or less approaching the drawing as a kind of partial peak drawing, but also thinking about tonality. With any kind of drawing, it's a good idea, I think, particularly with things like compressed charcoal, pastel, to begin the drawing a bit too lightly. It's easy then to work back into the drawing afterwards to re-establish and firm up aspects of the drawing, but to keep the touch quite light I think is useful. Again, if the drawing is quite lightly executed, it's really simple to correct and transform aspects of your drawing because you haven't committed yourself so quickly. So an eye may well be in the wrong position. It's very easy then to modify, to transform, to change. So I'm kind of using a more kind of meandering line than maybe I would normally do if I was making a drawing with a pen, a biro, etc. So I can kind of feel my way around the relationships. But again, I'd often use that strategy which I've talked about in previous videos, the idea of moving, kind of shifting one's attention from one object to another object. So you're never really trying to focus too long on that toe. You know, what you're trying to then think about is how that toe then connects to that knee, which then in turn kind of relates to this knee, to the groin, to the angle of the hips, etc. You know, so one's kind of, you know, literally moving from one position to another position to another, you know, checking kind of the negative shape as well, so that one's aware of the sort of diagonal movement of the figure. So those initial decisions one made may well then need to be corrected, but that's fine, you know. Your eye will be drawn to that correct decision. If we come in with water, then we can start to move the drawing around as if it's an ink. This is particularly useful if one's drawing with things like compressed charcoal, which can have a tendency to be really dark and often can be overdrawn with, making a drawing quite clumsy in a sense. So by holding back with compressed charcoal and drawing with the brush, one can achieve much more delicate areas of tone. So this is just water at the moment on the end of the brush. As one starts to draw into the paper and the surface of the paper becomes damp, then the compressed charcoal, pastel, etc. will then slightly dissolve into the wet paper and give you a darker tone. And again, by putting a small amount of that darker tone down, one can pick up that tone and then work back into the drawing a bit more.